I'm Lola.
And I'm Mamuna. Together, we have a combined 35 years of experience within the tech scene in North America and Europe.
We talk about the highs, the lows, the WTFs of navigating the technology industry and answer your questions about navigating tech careers.
This is Lost in Tech.
Well, so we were talking about the various things. We started this thinking about the individual experiences of leaders and individuals trying to level up their leadership and the questions that we get. And I think as we were thinking about it, a common pattern emerges in a lot of the questions and the conversations that come our way that I actually think are not necessarily individual, right? And the phrase is, what got you here won't get you there. We've talked about that in terms of people leveling up and becoming ready for their next, what's being asked of them at the next level. But I think what we are seeing is that this also applies to companies and teams. And there comes a time when you're in an environment that is in that position. It's like, what got this team here won't get this team there. What got this company here won't get this company there. And the same thing applies, that you've now got to figure out, how do you level up the whole thing? How do you make hard decisions that are good for the long term? But there's going to be some suck. And that suck will be real, and maybe you're the person in the position who has to make that hard call. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I think this serves for dominant companies who, in one era,
top of their field.
Yep, exactly. Like the bigger you get, though, I think the more your strengths harden your blind spots.
Yep.
So there's a fear to pivot or change because you're like, well, I actually spoke to a company and they're like, we don't want to pivot because what if we lose what we have? Right? What if we take our eye off that ball? And so there's definitely that. But there's also the smaller companies that have taken risk, right? And they're like, it's working. We found success, but we need to now mature and grow further. Should we take that next step? And I think it's interesting. I even think about when we were thinking about it earlier, the first example that popped in my head was Apple and like how their perfectionism is now competing at like AI speed and experimentation, and where they are with Siri and Apple Intelligence, if that's what we call it. And like how they're kind of slower to market. I think is a lot that at the corporate level could be dissected there.
Well, and again, it's the winners write the history books. So sometimes when we look at how companies have succeeded at these transition points, it looks like they always were going to be what they were going to be, and you always knew how it was going to turn out. And I think when you're inside it, these labels that we have for different company stages, they really make sense because there's a mode you need to be a startup, right? Like a startup. The behaviors of leadership, the behaviors of the organizational structure, the decision-making, it has to be ruthless AF because it's survive or die immediately, imminently. Like you do not have the cash to waste money. But then when you go from startup to scale up, now you have some success. You've now got shit to lose, but you've got to figure out, have you hit your peak? The same questions apply. Do you need to pivot? Do you need to iterate? Do you need to innovate? And then how do you go to that next stage to be like an incumbent? And I think Apple is a great example of like, we know people who worked inside the company. We have experienced them outside the company. Everyone always has an opinion about whether or not they're making the right strategic decisions. And at every single part of Apple's journey, people have criticized the decision-making without question.
Of course,
And that applies, that's like, maybe up until recently, they were the most cash-rich company in the world. If they are getting it wrong, according to their ex-employees and customers, imagine everybody else who's like having opinions or experiencing their own company's micro version of that same drama. It's like, shit needs to change. We need to do something different. How do we
Yeah.
make those decisions, and how do we level up?
Yeah.
Because leveling up inherently means doing something that affects someone, you know?
So I think I was speaking with someone, and something popped in my head was like the habit of optimization kills exploration, right?
100%.
And so you get into
100%.
like this safety zone. You're like, oh, we'll just tweak this. We'll take these small incremental
Yep.
steps. And you're
Yep.
afraid to explore because you're like, hey, if we lose,
Yep.
we
What happens
lose,
next?
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think if you if you focus on like perfecting that one business model, you're rarely going to move on to the next. Like it's just you incrementally building that small
Well,
piece.
100%, because also everything you do changes your future customer's behavior. So what you
Yep.
think you knew, they've already behaved, they've already moved on.
Yep.
I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but there's this great McKinsey study called Disrupting Beliefs, and it analyzes what happens when disruptor companies show up and eat the lunch of the incumbent companies, right? And what typically happens is that disruptors are willing to do the harder thing, which is they question, why are we here? And what do we need to do next? Whereas incumbents, they kind of have this blind spot. It becomes an optimization game. This is our business model, and we innovate above the business model, but you
Yep.
never question the business model. And I think
Eventually
to bring
those
it back,
disruptors though may become the next
oh no, they
incumbents.
die. Yeah. I mean, that article famously uses Blockbuster versus Netflix as a comparison.
Exactly.
And there was a 10-year overlap. So people think like Netflix showed up and Blockbuster died. No, there's there's a 10-year overlap where Blockbuster died very, very slowly. And I could imagine inside the company, there were individuals who were asking questions. They were like, what is our leadership doing? How do we innovate? What are we going to invest in the right things? Or, this person, they've been at the company for so long and they've done all the right things, but they're not moving us forward. And this was what actually triggered in my brain, because I was thinking as it relates to our audience. Sometimes when you're the leader in the room, you're working with people who have done an excellent job. The question is not, is this person amazing? They absolutely are. But then you have to ask yourself, but what do I need now? What do I need for the next period? And is this person it? And it could be like, do they want to do what it's going to take to go to that next level? And then do I believe they can do what it takes to go to that next level? And then you might have a really, really hard decision to make.
Yes. And I think there's like systems, decision layers, like metrics that work at, 100 million that fail at that like 10 billion, right? And so
100%.
there's operations to how you work, like the strategic decisions you're making as you scale those things. If you try to do the same thing, it's going to fail, right? And so I think like, as you're saying, startups thrive on like speed and conviction, but then scaling is going to require you to have alignment and repeatability, right? You can't be a startup at $10 billion. I don't know if that's going to work, but you can't.
It's
like,
not
you
even.
can't
I mean, we measure it by staff costs. You probably don't have. There's a TV show. I've always got a TV show, even though I don't really have time for watching TV. I have these TV shows I was watching years ago that come out with new seasons, and one of them is The Morning Show. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. The Morning Show is excellent. It's a TV show of this, or I don't know if it's even Aaron Sorkin who does it. There's like The Newsroom, these shows where there's really great interpersonal dynamics. Like West Wing would have been a similar type of show where the people relationships are like the key. I know. I watched some of it. But The Morning Show, it's got Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon in it. So like
I think
big
I've
star
seen
potential.
previews or trailers or something for it.
And it's basically about like a newsroom in a big TV station. And over the many seasons, there's a bunch of drama. Like there's like a lifetime anchor who's a guy who turns out to be a predator. And then, he dies. Sorry, spoiler, we should have warned you. Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff that happens. And in the latest season, this is a spoiler. If you are watching The Morning Show and you have not watched any of I don't even know what season it is, whether it's 3 or 4, stop watching now, because I'm about to tell you something that's highly relevant to what we're saying. In the current season, there's been a a female takeover. So they like did some ruthless things at the end of the last season. They got some money. They took over the station. They've got female president, female CEO, an all-female anchor bench, and a bunch of stuff. And there's a Black woman who's been there since the first season in the newsroom. She wants the job of head of news. And she has been a soldier under other people. She has been the person to pacify and make things work for everybody else. She's navigated half heck situations. There's a little bit of a lack of respect for her because you can see the people aren't scared of her and they don't fear her. But she's like, I have put in the work. And now I need to get this role. It's like she's been the acting head of news and now she's going for the job of head of news. And she doesn't get it. And Justin and I had a whole discussion about this where we talked about like, is this the typical Black woman has been in the role doing all of the right things. Everybody's come to rely on them to be the backbone, but you can't see them as the leader. Or was she not the right person for the job that needs to be done now? This is not an award for participation. This is not like you've been here, so we're going to reward you. This is a do or die. We're trying to save business. And I came to the conclusion myself. I was like, I think they might have made the right decision in not giving it to her. And that's where it started. This whole thing is like, sometimes what got you here is not what's going to get you here. And your tenure should be celebrated. Your contributions should be recognized. Your value should be lauded. And we need to look at where we're going now. And those things may not be the most important factors for this next stage. And I think it's similar to like a lot of tech companies and some of the people we're having conversations with. That's what they're struggling with. They themselves are struggling to be the person that the company needs, or they need to make a bunch of decisions about their team and they're finding them hard.
I mean, I think it's an interesting comment you there. Like they're struggling to be the person the company needs, because I think that there's so many things in this. One, the company has to be communicating where it is that they're trying to go, so the person can understand how to scale 100%. Up or coach or whatever it may be to get themselves to that next level. And then I think also the company needs to, hopefully a manager, someone needs to help connect the dots. So it should never be a surprise that you're not going to get the job, right? Like we've talked about in the past. It's like, hey, this is the role and this is what it takes to be successful in the role. Here's where you are. Here's how we're connecting you to your role and the company goals, right? And that should always be clear. Like we always say, like, know how the company makes money, right?
Makes money.
You should be connected all the way through. And you should know, like, hey, I have what it takes, or, ooh, I'm kind of nervous. I see some gaps in what I have to offer. I need to work on this, or I need to pretty quickly need to start looking for a role somewhere else, right? Because I know that I don't have the experience to scale. Like when I talk to a lot of companies, they're saying like, oh, the person in this role, they're great, but we're looking to get to 500 million, to whatever. And the person in this role today has never had that experience, or they haven't been able to get us there. And so there are incremental changes in the product or whatever it is and we're looking for more. And so I often wonder, like, have you communicated that to the person who's in the role today? And they're like,
do they know that's the gap? Yeah.
Or are they just kind of sitting there saying like, oh yeah, I've done a good job. I've gotten them to 100 million, 200 million, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm doing what the company needs. Like, is the ambition clear? So I think that that's like a very oftentimes missed communication point that could be helpful for all parties,
100%. But the other thing is, we know that leaders and visionaries are weak on this, right? Like, if you are great at seeing where the thing needs to go, I think, 50-50, whether or not you're good at communicating that, or you're just like, I need to go. And I want to give folks some takeaways, because I think we have spoken about elements of this. So like, one thing is, if you are a leader in a company, I think you should be actively working to pull yourself out of your role on a regular basis. It's like, yes, you've been there. Yes, you do this. Yes, your team does. Zoom right out and be like, okay, what is the macro environment that I am contributing to? Can I see where it needs to go next? And if I wasn't working here, what would that look like? What would the strategy look like? Because it may or may not be coming from your leadership or your boss, but you can certainly formulate an opinion on that stuff. And I think it's valuable because then you're using that information to ask yourself probably the biggest question, which is, do I want to be here for that part? Because being pushed out feels sucky. But if you've already asked yourself, be like, I kind of think, I know where this is going. And I don't know if I want that for me, or I can see where this is going. So I'm starting to level up. I'm starting to do the work to figure out how to be that for me and for them. And that's like, it's all mindset, right? It's are you prepared?
And to go back to what you said about some leaders not being able to articulate what is necessary, I think a way that if you're a leader in a company that feels like they're in a bit of a stagnation, I wouldn't assume that the company doesn't see it. I would not assume that the board or investors are not expecting it, right? So there's probably pressure somewhere. So you can maybe help show that you are capable of leading through it by maybe asking a first question, which is like, why does this company exist now? Not why it started, but like, why does this exist now, right? And you can start to think about like, what does the next reinvention of the company look like? So, like, I would honestly say like, maybe you suggest to the company, let's build one team whose only job is to challenge the core assumptions we've had, right? And they just run at the problem, and you can take that as an opportunity to say, hey, like, I can lead this, and I can showcase to you, if you feel comfortable doing this, like, I can showcase to you what I'm capable of doing, right? Like, you are challenging that core assumption. And then after that, it's like you think about how to like simplify that down, distill it down into something that is articulate that you can pitch and present and push forward to the company. So you're also showing them like, hey, I can act in whatever this new version of the company is. And hey, I'm seeing that there's a new version of the company needed.
Yeah. And I think that behavior signal is really important, because if you're in a job and like, say you've got a company that everyone can see needs a change, and a new CEO, a new leadership has come in, the first exercise they're going to be doing is, who's thinking about this the right way?
Yes.
And people who are showing up with, not that we don't value emotional, but this very clear-eyed, I have a strategic view, I have options, I have been interrogating where we're at, are going to be much more useful and valuable than people who are like, I'm waiting to see what you're going to do because we've been here and we deserve, and we are, that energy alienates, right? And I think ultimately, you can argue about capitalism and it's like long-term goals, but if you are in a job and you are not working for free, as we remind people all the time, you should care that the leadership is willing to make hard decisions when those decisions will make the biggest difference. So if Blockbuster had made certain decisions 5 years before they died, maybe they wouldn't have died and taken people's pensions with them, right? These are they're not guarantees, but you want to believe that the people who are guarding your financial ability to live and spend are willing to make hard choices when necessary, and also prepared that maybe those choices don't include you, and you are not that person. And that's okay. If you are prepared, if your mindset is ready, or that if you want to be that person, what gets you there is different. Show up different. So, the macro environment and the micro, the inner and the outer, same thing. What got you here, what get you there. And there's so many things to weigh up.
All right, y'all. Listen on the comments. Oh yeah, we have to do the like, subscribe. What was it like?
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes.
Tell us what you think about this episode.
Interact with some things. We've got some good subscribers.
We're seeing your YouTube comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's share.
We've made this show for you, and we want to hear your stories. We have our combined 35 years experience in tech. we have an incredible bank of experts to call on. We are your safe space. So send us your tech challenges and we'll help you create some draft decisions through some real talk.
You've been listening to me, Mamuna and Oladipo.
And me, Oyelayo-Pearson.
Edited and produced by me, Michael Bussa, with theme music by 031 Mash.
Email us at help@lostintechpodcast.com or DM us at lostintechpod.